So you like the look of Daughters of Khaine, eh? You wish to worship at the altar of Morathi? Well, you're in the right place. I'm your narrator Benji, and this is the Age of Sigmar. Today's entertainment will provide you with a path to getting started with them that treat men like less than peasants, specifically providing you with two differing themed builds for your first 500 points. Now, whilst you can certainly play a game of this size, the fun doesn't really get started till we get to 1,000 pointies. That's why future videos will be guiding you to incrementally grow your army all the way up to the maximum recommended 2,500 point war host. So, before we start the show, let's introduce the two builds. And up first is a traditional witch-led list that features straight up elves with little in the way of physical alterations. And the other, I'll be calling your snake army, or as GW would have you call them, the MELUSAI. Half elf, half serpent, these creations of malign sorcery are a new threat that Khinites pose, and are the most zealous of their kind. Now, although we're not building a minimum sized 1,000 point army today, we are going to respect their unit type requirements of at least one leader and 2 battle line to get us prepared. So with all that out of the way, we start with what I'm calling the Witches of Khaine list. To get us started, we're going to be picking up one of the start collecting Daughters of Khaine boxes. Now, most of these provide good to excellent value for money, and this is no exception. However, this is also one of the more modular kits of its kind that you can buy, which if you know what you're doing can only be a good thing. At the host of our army is the fully kitted out Hag Queen on the Cauldron of Blood. Quite literally flying in the face of my normal advice starting out when building an army. This one unit takes up almost half your points. Alas, if this is a little too overwhelming for you, we'll also give a quick pointer on building just the Hag Queen in to this size list. A wandering buff machine that you'll find exemplifies and adds some resilience to the glass cannon nature of your army. Now, once you get up close and personal with this thing, it's pushing out a bunch of attacks. Oh, and you can also reanimate the avatar of Khaine, seen sitting pretty at the back there, to carve up more shizzle at short and melee range. Complementing our boss is 2 battle line units of 10 witch elves, effectively the bodyguards and chaperones for the Hag Queen, that are the recipient of some real synergy with the centrepiece of your army. These rank and file receive the benefit of improved save and wound rolls amongst other things. Now, they are a melee only unit, which is why you're grateful for their ability to bring a musician so they can run and charge in the same turn. And then we realise what happens when we spend a huge chunk of points on just one unit, because we only have space for a unit of harpies, namely the KHINERAI HEARTRENDERS. There is a melee version of this unit called Life Takers, found on the same sprues. I've opted for the former as they have some short range javelins they can lob as well. Now, these guys can deep strike and they also have a whopping 14-inch move. So pick an optimal target, be it an enemy unit or an objective, and have at it. So there you have your 500 points of witches. We really have gone all in on your leader. But we've got a decent model count with the Witch Elves and KHINERAI supporting her, so I'd say that makes for a good start. Now, I did promise an alternative build should you wish to get a quick game in at this low points cost, and so this is that approach. With the single base Hag Queen on her lonesome that can later be added to the cauldron, you're preferring some of the same support in the process. Then all you need is another of either of the KHINERAI choices we talked about, leaving you with a spare 50 points that will grant you an extra command point at the start of the game. Moving swiftly on to the Snakes on a Khaine build, we're actually lukewarmly recommending the procurement of a Shadow and Pain box set. Now at some point in the future this may not be available, and it's a sizable chunk of change to hand over. But even if you remove the Slaanesh models from the equation, you are still getting your money back compared to buying these separately. Which segues nicely into the fact that the MELUSAI IRONSCALE model that will be our leader today is still exclusive to the Xbox set. Now, this approach also gives you that starter army of Head Knights of Slaanesh, should you want it, or alternatively you'll make a reasonable amount on the secondary market flogging those sprues. So our hero, Ms. IRONSCALE, has quite a few wings to her. No, that play on words didn't work. She can do a lot is what I'm saying, from being resistant to spells, conferring extra attacks on friendly MELUSAI units when she gets her taste of blood, and also selecting a unit to run with 2d6 and still charge, all on top of a platform of some short to medium range savagery. There is a lot of potency in this here leader. Now what having a MELUSAI hero also does is allow you to take either Blood Sisters or Blood Takers as battle line units, which is a real boon to meeting the force organisation requirements moving forward. Now to fit in our 500 points though, we need to take 2 units of 5 Blood Sisters, the melee variant of the two, which isn't necessarily ideal in a small point game where I'd rather have taken at least 1 unit of the ranged Blood Takers. But just bear in mind, if your intention isn't to play a game at 500 points, just to start building and painting, then because both of these options come in the same box, you can pick and choose which models and or which playstyle you want to future-proof yourself. Rest assured we'll be adding more of these either way as we go. This then leaves a unit of 5 KHINERAI Heartrenders that we already talked about in the Witches list. Not only are they in the Shadow and Pain box, but you'll find these units of Harpies harmoniously cross over between both paths, which is synergistic as well with any battalions we may introduce in our larger sized armies. And the same advice applies if you'd rather build and paint the melee only variant of KHINERAI Life Takers. There's nothing to stop you doing so at this point. And so there you have your 450 points plus an extra command point of MELUSAI, with your leader a solid all-round hero and giving out sweets and toys to your other MELUSAI. This is what will form the core of your Snakes on a Cane build moving forward. The converted battle line snakes are very much your elite rank and file, so as these lists progress, expect them to cost more points per model as we go. But there you have it, your first 500 points of Daughters of Khaine, giving you plenty to collect, build and paint on your way to a fully sanctioned 1000 point Vanguard army. That's what we'll be talking about next time. However, that's it from me. I'll see you next time.